Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Eljay Johnsen Show. This show airs every single weekend, every Sunday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, unless specified otherwise over on Twitter. You can find updates and guest announcements every single Wednesday. And if you have any questions over the week, make sure you head on over to my email, ljjohnson@gmail.com, and you can send in any questions that we will hopefully get to before the end. And remember, that's JOHNSEN. Okay, brilliant. So, that actually went a lot better than I thought it would because we have changed the days. Things are different now. We have moved off of Saturdays, we're now on Sundays, and the updates, consequentially, have moved a day ahead as well. The reason for this is because there was a massive scheduling conflict. And this is also, very briefly, let me know how it sounds, everyone. Please let me know. Well, how does it sound? Okay, so there is a scheduling change, and that is because I have started a new job, and I'll just say what it is. I'm a 911 dispatcher, and I'm in training, and I started that a couple of weeks ago, and because of my current schedule, there is a conflict with a variety of different things, one being the show, and the other being the TTV podcasts. And so, either the TTV podcast was going to move, or my show was going to move. And it ended up being that the podcast moved forward a couple of hours, actually about 3 hours. It's a very substantial shift. And then my show moved to Sunday, which honestly is fine because it's my day off. So hopefully that explains everything, squares it away, and hopefully it doesn't upset anyone too greatly, which I don't think it will. So, okay, let's go ahead and get on into things. My next guest is easily my most reoccurring guest. He has been on the show the most out of anyone else, sans me, and he just has such a good time. He keeps on wanting to come back, so he does come back. I don't actually know how many times he's been on, and I don't know what episode out of the 3 he's allotted a year this is, but I'm excited to have him back. We're going to be talking about Successors to BIONICLE. It's, of course, Tyler Anderson, otherwise known as Mesonak. How you doing?
You suck!
Okay,
Get
thanks.
off the stage!
Yes, okay.
I don't see you repping any Aquafina sponsorship. You're not
right.
allowed to be in my presence.
You're right. I'm not repping
I
Aquafina.
have to maintain a strict code of conduct for my brand.
I have no sponsorships, Meso.
Yeah, but like there are certain rules on who I can and can't associate with now.
Oh, really?
Yes, and you're what they call a detractor.
Oh, am I?
I'm not allowed to associate with detractors. It's in my contract. Only contractors, not detractors.
Gotcha. Well,
anyway, hi.
Hey, yeah, no, I'll tell you this right now, buddy. Arrowhead for life.
What? How dare you? What actually is that?
Okay, yeah, no, that doesn't surprise me. It's another bottled water brand, and it's one around here, around the Rocky Mountains, as it were.
Water in the boonies, got it.
Basically. I mean, I don't drink a whole lot of bottled water. That's the only bottled water I drink, if I drink any.
I figured you went down to like the spring and bottled your water yourself.
Well, basically, I take all my water and it's just tap water run through a filter, and that's it. That's what I drink.
Fair enough. I mean, if that works, that works.
And it works. I mean, I need the filter because a lot of the times the water here is a little rough.
You need a filter to stay family friendly.
You're about to have your guest privileges just utterly revoked.
No!
They're gonna be gone pretty soon here, pal.
I want to be on.
Again, I don't know how many times you've been here.
See, I was torn between a desire to lie to get more appearances, and then be honest. I'll just be honest. I've been on 6 times. This is my third for 2019.
Wait, this is your third for... No.
This is my third because we talked about Bionicle films in March, and then Clickbait a few months ago. So this would be my third.
Dang.
Unfortunately, because I didn't want to be on again later on in the year, but it's okay. It's fine. Hello, everybody. I'm Meso from the TTV, the dying channel.
Okay.
Oh yeah, this is the first post YouTube Armageddon Eljay Johnsen Show. This is it.
When was the Armageddon?
Like a month ago.
Oh,
No, no, no,
that you've
for
been
me.
on. That you've been
Yes.
on. Okay, yeah, not
So
one I've done.
channel, the TTV channel could die, and I'm not memeing. Anybody who hasn't seen
And he cuts out.
Watch YouTube
Oh,
might.
nope, there he is. There he is.
Oh really?
Are
Hello.
You better not be playing COD right now.
I'm totally not.
Meso?
I totally am. But listen.
Meso, gosh dang it.
Listen, does it actually affect my mic? Have I been cutting out this whole time?
No, you haven't. It was just once, so maybe it's just
No,
a
I mean,
fluke.
I mean when we've been playing the game.
Oh, no, it only affected VAR.
Weird.
Yeah.
All right. Either way, I was saying, for anyone who hasn't been following the YouTube drama, there's a very real possibility that YouTube's new policies could cripple the Lego YouTuber sphere because they're going to be doing crazy things to content produced for kids, and Lego qualifies because it's a toy, such as removing comments on videos and removing notifications from people's subs boxes for videos and disabling all monetization. Well, not all monetization. Disabling a lot of different ad types for kid content videos. And those three together is kind of hard to grasp. So, hi everyone, I'm Meso from the TTV channel. Maybe not for much longer.
Okay.
I don't know.
Stop with your fear mongering.
It's very valid concerns, and we go into the whole discussion. But yeah, I'm sure pretty much everybody knows who I am by now.
I would imagine. I don't know.
Just in case, my memes aside, I'm from TTV, BIONICLE channel. I don't really do anything in particular. Most people have a little bit of a niche. They do mocks, they do stories. I do not. I am, I guess you could say, like a wallflower. But really,
what?
Isn't that like a term to represent people who stick on the periphery and just kind of like don't really engage too much? I think that's a term.
I'm
gonna look it up because I like to be very specific about my obscure terminology.
Okay.
So I gotta verify. Wallflower. Well, not really. I did kind of misuse it. The actual definition is a person who has no one to dance with at a party or who feels shy, awkward, or excluded.
Well,
I don't exclude myself because I'm awkward. I exclude myself because I'm an observer.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I like discussing the Bionicle community way more than any particular facet of it, I guess is a good way to put it. I like the sum of the parts rather than the parts.
I don't know. You always say that you really like the Bionicle community, which
I do.
I always find funny because you're not really a part of it. You're a contributor to it. And you don't really know them.
I know them very, very well. I just don't talk to people. I'm not on a billion servers like you are. But
in all fairness, I've been debating kind of dropping out of a few of them. I don't talk in them that often anymore.
That's fair.
But
when you got fired, you went on like a reconnaissance mission and went out into the world and like met a bunch of people.
Oh yeah.
But
it's a lot more people, honestly. I suck at replying to people, so people will be sending me messages, and I see them and I mean to reply, but I'm usually up to something, and so I go, all right, I'll reply to them another time, and then I just don't, and I seem like a jerk.
Yikes!
It's like, LaRocca, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I see you. I want to talk to you again, buddy. And I'm this is my fault. It's me. So.
Aww. Well, either way, point is, yeah, I like discussing the community and just Bionicle in general. It's a fun topic. So that's me.
Yeah, I like discussing the community and Bionicle, obviously enough. So I can agree with this.
Crunchbite puts it very well. Meso's like a subscriber to the Bionicle community.
It's accurate.
Essentially, yes. I'm not a contributor. I subscribe, and I manually go there because I can't trust notifications.
That's for sure.
So, yes. That is who I am. What are we going to be talking about today, Eljay?
So today I kind of mentioned it earlier, and as you've been talking, I've been looking for photos to use. Not a whole lot of great photos to use, but you know what? I'm going to make do. So we are going to be discussing BIONICLE Successors. Now, there were some people who were unsure of what that means. And essentially what it is to us are their themes that continue aspects of BIONICLE after it ended. So, for instance, story-driven themes like Nexonites, like Hero Factory, themes that center around elemental control like Ninjago, and themes with groups of characters that are color-coded, white, red, green, blue, etc., like Nexonites, and I mean, everything. So we're going to be discussing those and seeing kind of what they do right, what they do wrong, and the current state of LEGO story themes and where they are now, if that makes sense.
That's a very eloquent way to put it, and I like that a lot. I would say another way, too, just to get people to maybe understand it easier, would be either a construction theme or a story theme, because those are Bionicle's two pillars. It was LEGO's first successful story, and it was their first successful construction theme. So if it does one of those two, it qualifies as a Bionicle successor because it's carrying that legacy that Bionicle established. Mm-hmm. So the big five that I like to think of when we're thinking of successors here is, like you were saying, it's Ninjago, Hero Factory, Legends of Chima, Nexonites, and Elves.
Yeah.
Those are the five Bionicle successors. I don't count Exoforce because it ran concurrently. I don't count Atlantis because it had a bare bones story and also ran concurrently. Power Miners, no. Friggin' Ultra Agents,
Miners, yeah.
Ran concurrently. Ultra Agents, no. But those five, yes. Oh, and I guess people will be like, what about Ben 10? Well, technically, yes.
Well,
but here's beginning and end of the Ben 10 discussion. It sucked. The end.
No, I think we can exclude things like Ben 10 and Star Wars because they're licensed themes. And everything we're going to be talking about are original properties.
Yeah, although there is a minor bit of discussion merit to Construction Star Wars, but only when it applies to the market, not about carrying the torch necessarily.
Yeah, because it just doesn't. Also, so there are two questions in the chat I wanted to get to right now. We're not doing questions yet. We will, but not now. Sakota asks about Hidden Side, and we're not going to be talking about Hidden Side because it is too new.
Yep.
We don't know
anything.
anything.
I don't really have any opinion on it.
Yeah, we don't have anything super concrete yet. It looks really promising. The sets are excellent. I'm really looking forward to seeing more from it. There's this one short animation that's out that I think Tommy Anderson wrote. But we don't have enough knowledge on it yet to include it as part of this conversation.
Essentially. Spiang says, do you count G2?
That was the other one. No. Not for the purposes of this conversation.
Not for the purpose of this conversation, but I'm sure G2 will still be discussed because it always is. But no, not when I'm thinking of successors, that's not what immediately comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a good place to start is by reading a comment from Benjamin621 2005. It says the only successor that's left is Ninjago. And really, that's the crux of why I want to be on and why I want to talk about this. Is because Ninjago is having its very unique kind of a reboot right now, almost. It's taking on new life. A soft reboot, that is, not an actual hard reboot. But as we examine Ninjago and what it's doing right and what it's doing wrong and how it's still around, despite its flaws and failings, I kind of just have to come back to what about everything else? What made this not work? But Ninjago, despite everything, is still working. It's still ongoing. It's still pretty good. And then the flip side of that being, well, what is it doing so right that everything else just can't do? And that's kind of what I want to get into, because I think there's a lot of discussion to be had there. Because you look at it, and yeah, these things came out. They were released. Some even lasted many years, like Hero Factory. But when you look at the lasting legacy, like no one talks about Legends of Chima in a positive light. You do not see, with the exception of one Stephen Villman, who, if you happen to watch this, I respect your enthusiasm and your passion a lot. But I don't really see many Chima fans. Nexo Knights fans? Where? Hero Factory fans? Maybe in a sense, but you do not have passionate communities or Hero Factory continuation projects or people extolling your HF's virtues in the LEGO lifespan. It's just kind of become a footnote. It's become a passing kind of a thing. So I think talking about why is important, especially because there's two inciting incidents that make this a relevant conversation to be having. And yes, we're going to go there. Number one is the various rumors and rumblings of potential new construction themes in 2020, of which there is nothing substantial to support the existence of such a thing, but there are rumors, as there always are, and people like to discuss, well, what could the future of construction look like now? And we're really not going to go too much into our wish list so much as discussing the landscape. And then two, of course, you have Christian Faber's stuff, which has put the idea of a Bionicle G3 into everyone's minds, even though if you, like, completely independent of what you think about Faber's actual plan and the logistics of him pitching anything, if you read what he says, it's pretty apparent that it's not going to be the Bionicle G3 that people think it's going to be. Like, it's just not... He spells it out very plainly. He said something along the lines of, well, even the name might have to evolve if such a thing were to come about. In his eyes, whatever, project he has, whether it's Rebel Nature, whether it really is a bio project, whatever he's doing will be an evolution of the Bionicle concepts, repurposed in his mind, whatever Bionicle means to him. If it seems like whatever it means to him is something involving sentience or AI creations or whatever, if that's what he wants to take from Bionicle, that's what he would create in a new theme. It would be another spiritual successor. It would not be, let's go to Spherus Magna and fight Marindar. You know what I mean? And the people saying that are living in a fantasy world, plain and simple. That's just not going to happen. So, assuming for a second that one of those things might be true, which is a very lofty assumption to make, but let's humor it. Either Lego makes a new theme, or Faber pitches a new theme, or he has a new thing. That would at that point be a Bionicle successor. What would it need to do to get it right? Well, let's start with what hasn't gotten it right. Let's start with Hero Factory.
Okay, we're gonna start with HF. All right,
LJ, what did you think about HF?
So let me go ahead and get the image up before I actually start giving my thoughts. Come on now, careful. Oh wait, no, I gotta lock something. Hang on.
Okay.
There we go. Now I won't be able to move that. Okay. So HF. Just the other day, I was on another podcast. I don't know if my appearance has really been disclosed yet, so I won't say which podcast it is yet. But I was on another podcast, and I was talking about how I hated Bionicle 2009 much more than I hated Hero Factory. And what that implies is that I hated Hero Factory, which is absolutely true. I didn't like it at all, because Bionicle had just ended, and now it was being replaced with something that almost seemed kind of counterculture to everything Bionicle was about. Heroes are made. They're not born. They're created in a factory. Like they're just some copy-paste printed protagonist material, instead of born through the trials of combat and life or whatever.
And I mean, I don't blame someone for thinking that. That is what their marketing kind of implied.
What were their three virtues again?
There are three virtues, which they did have. It's a lesser-known fact, but they only ever showed up in concept art. So I think it was scrapped. Was safety, integrity, quality. As in the safety that the heroes create, the integrity of them as, robots, I guess, and quality as in literally the production standards of the factory producing quality people. That's literally what that meant. And this was actually a poster. This was an image that was produced for the theme. It never made it into the public eye, but they were clearly taking inspiration from BIONICLE there.
Yeah. And so a lot of it felt very half-hearted, almost. Like they were trying to do what they did with BIONICLE, and they just didn't do it quite so well. It just felt very artificial, I suppose. And so I wasn't a big fan of Fear Factory from the onset. Excuse me, from the onset. I didn't think that it was a very engaging theme. And then it came out. It came out, and over time, while I wasn't as impressed with it as I was BIONICLE, obviously, after time and with significant retrospect, I actually kind of have a fondness for it. Not a nostalgia for it, but I'm fond of it for what it did. Well, what did you think of it, Messa?
Oh boy. I am AHF's, I hesitate to say number one fan.
There's probably someone who's more into it than you.
I'm sure there's someone out there who does like it more. However, I am I guess you could say, a strong advocate for it. I always have been, and I always will be. But that's not to say that that it's flawless, because it's definitely not. It's a very flawed product that never was really able to reach its full potential, and that's because of the inherent shortcomings of its creation. I think the important thing for everybody to keep in mind about HF is it was made as a pivot from BIONICLE. Mm-hmm. It was literally supposed to be, BIONICLE, but opposite. Because why did they take BIONICLE off shelves in the first place? It's because there was starting to be some stagnation. There was starting to be stagnation in sales, and also stagnation when it came to getting people interested in the story. It had gone on so long. There had been so many new facets opened up for it. There was a little bit of fatigue. Sales were not bad, but they wanted to take it off shelves before sales became bad, and the image of that product and that brand name was tarnished. So they decided to pull BIONICLE and start a new thing. And they were like, we need to course correct. What do we need to do? The premise of Hero Factory was to be episodic. It was not meant to follow a continuous story, even though there was one kind of in the background. It's not like there wasn't a plot. The first 4 episodes of the show did follow a continuous story, but it was very simple. It was very by the numbers, and it was intended to last a long time, but also not get confusing. Because the very premise of the Hero Factory, heroes that could be created, sent off, dispatched to any planet in the universe to do anything, and be retrofitted with equipment that could allow them to survive in basically any terrain. The purpose of that is it made it essentially the ultimate sandbox theme, because you establish a galaxy full of planets, so instantly your scope is cosmic, with no build up to that. You can go anywhere, and if you establish that the heroes can become anything through upgrades and retrofit for that terrain, you can essentially make any set that you could ever want as well. And that was the purpose of the strength. The purpose of the theme and one of its core pillars. So the first wave was pretty regular, pretty by the books. The second wave was about fighting fire villains. The third wave was about fighting animals. So the heroes got animal gear for some reason. Fourth wave was a prison break. So all the heroes were retrofitted with handcuffs to go apprehend the villains. Fifth wave was about fighting brain parasitic aliens. So they got helmets to protect their heads from the brains, and also locks for their hero cores. And then the last wave was about fighting giant creatures, giant beasts. So they got mechs to boost their stature. That was a cool thing for the theme. For a Lego theme, completely disregarding the actual quality of the story, you can't look at that and say from a Lego perspective that is bad, because it's not. That's genius. That's essentially future-proofing your theme forever. If it gets stale, if one thing gets stale, just do something else. And you have that freedom. Just say, okay, well, the heroes need to be sent out to planet Globuland. I don't know where to go with that. Where they have to fight giant blobs of slime monsters, like that one dude from My Hero Academia, episode 1 and 2. And it's just a bunch of slime monsters, and the heroes have to be equipped with giant vacuum cleaners to suck up the slime monsters.
Mesa, what you're describing is Ghostbusters.
Sure, but not ghosts. Slime monsters.
Yeah. One of the primary ghosts is named Slimer. He's like a staple of that franchise.
All right, sure.
I'm messing
Whatever.
around. Continue.
I've never seen Ghostbusters. My point is, that sounds dumb, and I'm riffing, but that's an idea, and I just came up with that, and that is immediately possible in the Hero Factory universe. Like, that is a thing that they very easily could have done if they wanted to. They could have done Ghostbuster heroes. You want to do a Wild West theme where the heroes have to go to like a desert planet where everybody lives as like renegades and they have to be the new sheriffs on the block and hunt down people? You could do that. You want to do an actual space theme where they're fighting like aliens that can only survive in space, but they're raining down like fire on planets through aerial bombardments, and the heroes have to don spacesuits to actually survive in space and fight them? They could do that. They could do regular aliens. They could do an underwater theme where the heroes have scuba gear, an ice theme, an underground theme where the heroes have like pickaxes and drills and, you know, lights to survive, to be able to see underground, all sorts of stuff. I'm just spitballing ideas. All this was possible. And that's why HF's kind of cool as an idea. And it's directly in opposition to Bionicle, which followed a continuous story. For one thing to happen, it needed to be preceded by another thing. The Borok came out because Takua woke them. Takua woke them because of the events of 2001. Well, true. Point is, everything followed a continuity. And events had to be preceded by something which triggered them, which would only happen if it made sense within the overarching plot, which they knew from a long period of time ahead, which they were actually building towards. And Jeff did not have to do that. They could be purely episodic and sell the theme on the strengths of its individual years rather than its overarching plot. Am I talking too much?
No. I mean, the point of the show is for guests to talk, so please.
Yeah, but I feel like I could ramble for an hour about HF, so if you have anything to say, feel free to cut me off.
I mean, fair enough. We can go ahead and...
Well, I'm building to a point.
Oh, okay, no, finish.
I just don't want to, like, monopolize.
I mean, yeah, no, it is not called the Mesonak Show, so that is fair.
It's true. My point that I'm building to is that's the potential for Hero Factory. So what went wrong? Well, what went wrong is that Lego got scared and that they didn't do it. Like, you'll notice if you actually paid any attention to HF's story that there was a pivot around Breakout. They had 3 waves where they did this kind of Monster of the Week episodic style, and then they suddenly switched gears. They started releasing books which told a story between book to book, building to an overarching plot of galactic conspiracy. They did the Breakout theme, which teased, so there's this lore about this group called the Hero Recon Team, and Raka, who got introduced last wave, is actually a sleeper agent who was sent to investigate some plot, which is the original villain, Von Nebula, who staged a prison break through his lackey Voltix to free everyone for some nefarious purpose. And they teased that he was going to build his own hero factory to essentially produce villains. And they started to plant these seeds for like an actual lore and an actual overarching plot. And the problem with that is the fundamentals weren't there. The problem is they tried to pull that before they actually established what it takes for an overarching plot like that to be successful, and that is an engrossing world. characters you could actually get behind who have grown and changed, an interesting conflict. They just tried to throw all this stuff at you. But HF up till this point was kind of a joke. It was very lighthearted, cheesy fare. It was like a regular Lego theme, kind of like Atlantis or Power Miners that just had these self-contained stories. It was like that, but it worked for that. No one criticized those themes for their stories. HF wasn't trying to tell a Bionicle-like story. They were trying to do their own thing. And it was set up perfectly for that. They even had stuff like the Hero Hotline, where kids could just call in random stuff, and it had the potential to be canon and featured on the Hero Factory radio show and all this stuff. But they backed off. They stopped doing it, and they tried to be like Bionicle. But HF could never be Bionicle because it wasn't as good as Bionicle. The plot just wasn't there. The characters just weren't there. The world wasn't there because it was never supposed to be. And then they got scared again, and they never actually paid off the cliffhangers they set up. And the greatest meme of HF is its last 3 years were literally back-to-back, unrelated and unresolved cliffhangers. And then it was over. On Breakout, they set up the villain factory. On Brain Attack, they teased a mastermind, and they showed that the brains were still underground. And then in Invasion from Below, they just didn't do anything, but they teased that they didn't actually beat the beasts. There were more of them out there. And then it was over. So HF, its legacy is a muddled mix of contrasting ideas and conflicting visions and backpedaling as a result of community pressure, or just them not having any integrity in their own ideas. I love HF, but it's very clear there was no unifying vision for it. There was a war probably of whether to make it like Bionicle or like another Lego theme, and it just didn't work. It didn't win out in any kind of a positive way. And what's most confusing is that Christian Faber comes in.
Oh, no.
Christian some guy Faber.
Oh, don't you start with me.
And he posts this blog entry, and he's like, but guys, the Hero Factory Story Bible, that was something else. The HF Story Bible was more complex than Bionicle. It had a super interesting world that was way more interesting than Bionicle. And the Hero Factory itself was always supposed to be just a lead-in to something greater, and the real heroes would be found somewhere else. And I really hope I can share this story Bible with you one day. Then he deleted that blog entry, and it has literally been like 4 years. And he's never mentioned it again. And as an HF fan, that just it makes my blood boil. Because that means nothing. That's just hollow words. You just drop that. Number one, it sounds pompous. Like, oh, this was so much better, it was so good. But you also never follow up on it with any kind of proof. So I can't even use that as a way to boost HF up in the eyes of the haters. Because what am I supposed to say? Christian Faber says it was really good, but I don't know what it was actually going to be about. And I was like, cool, but the actual product sucked. And I'm like, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So I am a fan, but it's also just kind of a mess. It's conflicting visions. That's how I would TLDR it. Yeah. Nobody had any clue what they wanted it to be.
And it's really unfortunate because HF had a lot. Like, I do think that there were a lot of aspects to it that were just so genuinely cool and exciting and funny. I mean, I liked the show to varying degrees. I liked, like, my favorite wave was Breakout because it had all of the heroes, it had tons of new and cool villains, and you had all of them together in one wave at least once. And I love that so much. The HF Hero Factory FM, gosh, yes! That is one of the finest pieces of comedy Lego has ever produced. It is, I find it to be immensely funny.
Well, it's because it was very intelligent. Like, they knew what they were doing. The writing was good. It was like a satire of radio shows and also itself. And it was like self-parody and also featured the kids calling in. It was genius.
Yeah, it was a really good, it was a culmination of a lot of really good elements. And so I liked that, and it was fun. Unfortunately, while HF had a lot of good reuse potential, it had a lot of fun aspects and attributes. It had a lot of things going for it. Like you said, Mesa, it was just very conflicting. It didn't know, it wasn't very focused. So it never really went anywhere. There was no movement. Not like not like not like Ninjago. Not like Bionicle. It was just
Not even like Chima.
yeah, not even like Chima.
It meandered around for a few years trying different things and then ended abruptly with no resolution.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So as an HF fan, I'm kind of hollow. I liked what was there when it was there, but the sum of its parts is basically nothing. It's basically a big old zero sum.
Yeah.
It didn't fulfill its Monster of the Week promise. It cut off Hero Recon Team way too soon, which was the best thing it ever tried to do, ordering your own custom-built mocks. And its overarching plot can't really hold a candle to Bionicles because it wasn't allowed to develop. So it did basically nothing super well.
Mm-hmm. So it's unfortunate. In retrospect, I like HF for what it tried to do and what was fun and creative and unique to it.
Yeah.
But it just kind of feels very hollow now as well.
It does. It annoys me because it had the potential to be. Whenever I say HF had great potential, I don't mean its story necessarily. Like anything has potential with a plot if there are good writers. That's not what I mean. I mean as a Lego theme, it had a lot of potential with the Monster of the Week format and the endless variety in sets without really needing a reason. Bionicle had to contrive reasons for the Toei to get upgrades. HF never had that problem. HF could do whatever simply because of how its premise was arranged.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really cool. But
yeah,
it never followed up on it.
Oh gosh, there's one other thing I wanted to mention about HF.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was going to get a movie.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so did the people making it. Everyone forgot about it because we heard the announcement once. And then that's it. That's all we've ever heard about the announcement. There was not even an announcement saying it wasn't happening anymore when HF got canceled. It was just talked about. And then, boom, it's done. No more.
That's actually hilarious. I haven't thought about that in like 4 years.
Yeah.
What was that? Was that Universal?
Yeah, it was Universal. They said we're going to make like a live action movie.
Live action. I mean, look, I cringe at live action movie, right? I think we all do. And yet, the beauty of HF
it's totally possible.
That's totally possible because Earth probably did exist in that universe. It's not like the Bionicle live action movie that was planned where the Toa of Light would have been like the kid, where it would have had to break the lore to work. HF, that's totally viable. Cringy, perhaps, but viable.
Yeah.
But in conclusion, the purpose of HF and looking at it now is it was the attempt to directly replace Bionicle. It was Lego's attempt to be like, we're just going to slot this in right where Bionicle was, and it's going to fill that same role. But it suffered from a lack of a vision. That is what I would say. I don't know if they were, nervous about their product or if it really was them like bowing to fan critiques of people who didn't really understand what it was trying to do and were comparing it to Bionicle in every single way and not letting it do its own thing. But it had an identity crisis. And ergo, when you don't have a consistent vision for something, you can't see it through. That's the lesson we should take from HF when applying it to future themes. You have to have a vision.
Oh yeah, I think that's a good cap on HF.
Yep, I could literally talk about it for another hour.
Probably.
But I'm not going to. I could talk about the machinations of the books and how Greg really, really tried but failed because he wasn't really allowed to go too many cool places. I could talk about how they excluded Stringer and Nex from Invasion from Below, and how that still pisses me
Gosh.
off 5 years later.
It's so frustrating because they're the best.
Yep. I could talk about how they revolutionized the CCBS system. They introduced it. I could talk about how they potentially introduced the way for construction to succeed in the modern era with minifigures and mechs. I know that was a cool innovation, but that'd take too long.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Okay. Which theme do you want to discuss next?
I think we should talk about Shima. I think we should talk about Legends of
All right,
Shima.
so now we're going to be talking about Lego Elves.
All right, fair enough.
No,
Elves.
I'm messing around. Let me go hunt down the picture, because I downloaded the picture to my computer, because OBS does this funny little thing where if I drag the image over, then it disappears before I can do the transition.
Yikes.
Right, so I got to save all of them to my computer. Here we go. Come on. Cooperate. All right. So, over the last, I want to say, oh gosh, I don't know even when, but we did the episode of the TTV Podcast that was discussing, YouTube ending, and so
333.
Yes. Hang on, let me delete something. Okay, that's fine. So we discussed YouTube making a mess of things. And a lot of people in our comments posted saying that they found us through our Legends of Chima coverages. Now, Legends of Chima coverages... Yeah, it really was. It surprised me. Legends of Chima coverages were something that we did where we watched Legends of Chima when it was airing on TV, and we did a review. The modern version of this is Ninjago Cast. So we still do it. Though now, we're still honest about our thoughts on Ninjago. But we're definitely a lot better at wording it, conveying it, and being respectful about properties. I like Ninjago Cast more. I think what I'm the happiest I've been in regards to our critique of something would be, for instance, the finale for, what was it, March of the Oni?
Yes.
We tore it to pieces, but I think we were still respectful about it.
Yeah,
I'm honest.
I'll agree. I do think that with the Chima coverages, we were younger and we did drop the ball as far as respectfully addressing something, because we never expected that the creators would actually watch it.
And so it's easy to just say things and exaggerate and be a particular way when you don't expect that the people actually working on it, who are people too, would listen to it. But they did. So, which is really, really cool. That being said, that disclaimer being put out there, I still don't like Chima.
Yeah. I know there was a lot of love and care put into it, especially the more Tommy Anderson has talked about it over the years. But I'm not a fan of Shima. Yeah. And the reason I wanted to talk about that next is because it's Ninjago's Hero Factory. Ooh. Is what it is. It is because Ninjago, for those who don't remember or weren't around, Ninjago was canceled, just like Bionicle was. I say canceled. It finished its run. It was a 3-year theme, and it had its 3 years, and then it ended with the final battle, the Overlord and all that. And then Shima came out. But Ninjago did not actually end, because so many people called in, so many parents, they were so angry or upset or confused that it was off shelves because of how much a phenomenon it was, that Lego very quickly developed more sets. And after, I think it was literally just about 8 or 9 months without Ninjago on shelves, they missed like one release season. They had the rebooted sets out within the same year as the Final Battle sets. I think the Final Battle came out in January, rebooted came out in like October, November.
Yeah.
So they really got it out fast, but that still meant that the successor they had planned, Legends of Chima, was still coming out. I think it came out that summer before rebooted. I could be wrong on that, though. And it was essentially the Ninjago replacement. It was planned to be. It was the same studio. It was the same showrunner. Not showrunner. Was Tommy the showrunner?
Of Chima?
Yeah.
I know he was very involved. I don't know if
Okay.
he was the showrunner or not.
He was very involved. And it was another story theme with a lot of different mythology, which is why I classify it as a Bionicle successor, is because if anything, out of the bunch, Chima is the most, I guess, similar in concept.
I wouldn't say concept.
Maybe?
I would say atmosphere.
Atmosphere. That's a good word.
Not in the same way. Atmosphere / environment. Because
Yeah.
what you have, what Bionicle started off as, was characters that did not fit within their environment. So, for instance, you had these biomechanical beings, in layman's terms, robots,
There you go.
in unindustrialized environments, in snowdrifts, in jungles, near lava and volcanoes, places that you don't expect these robots to be. And so that kind of made them stand out. It was a crazy cool contrast. Chima has that in a sense because you have this natural environment that's very fantastical, and you have these anthropomorphic characters inhabiting it. And so, by and large, they don't really fit in because they're anthropomorphic.
Exactly.
So, it kind of follows that same, not trend, that same basic concept.
Exactly. So, and also just even the whole concept of tribes of different like villages living on a tropical-esque area with different elementally themed regions. I guess Chima wasn't really elemental until its third year, but it did still have elemental conceits, obviously, but with the fire and ice stuff.
Hey, Massa, real quick. So this is kind of like a breaking news kind of thing.
Go on.
There's been an update to Lego Ideas.
Go on.
Let me see here.
It's Bionicle back, Eljay.
When you submit something, it has this question. Is your idea based on an intellectual property? An intellectual property is an idea that is copyrighted by someone else, and then it has two buttons. So there's one button that says, no, it is my original idea, and it has a second button, and it says, yes, it's based on an existing IP. And if you type in Bionicle, you get a green check mark, which allows it for submission.
Boy.
I just thought that you would be interested to know that.
So what does that mean? Lego's like down for Bionicle ideas?
It
now?
means you can submit Bionicle submissions, which I believe is an active change.
All right, everybody. You know what you got to do.
So, anyway,
Make a compelling product.
I felt that was pertinent information for this.
Oh, totally. Like I will friggin' mass publicize my Bionicle ideas set to try to get that through.
Yeah, and Sakota.
100%.
Sakota said he's working on something right now that he teased on this show.
If there's literally anybody I would trust, it would be Sakota.
Handedly, without a shadow
Please.
of a doubt, he was the best part about G3.
Yes.
He still is the best part about G3.
Yup.
Anyway, all right.
No, I mean like even down to the different villages and the elemental influences. Chima had a lot of themes that HF really didn't, and even Ninjago really didn't in those early days. It's picked up a lot more nowadays. But what did Chima do right? Well, it had a world. It had mythology, which HF didn't. Chima actually did have some lore that was kind of a little bit interesting. They did have a believable world that felt like had rules that did make sense that these people could live in. They had the whole villager, hierarchy that allowed for some heroes to exist, but also civilians to protect them, and they were of the same group, by which I mean even in Bionicle, the Toa Matoran, well, the Toa were Matoran, It's not like they're an alien species.
In most cases, yeah.
But in HF, the heroes really had no relation to those who they protect. They were made to protect them. The people of the world just happened to also be robots.
Yeah.
But that was unrelated. Chima had that, and the sets were kind of neat because they all had animal motifs. It was mostly vehicles and mechs with a few locations, and it followed a pattern. It was like the Raven jet or the Lion tank or the crocodile car, and it all usually had a big animal head, brick-built animal head on the front with some very disturbing minifigures.
Yeah, so when it comes to the set side of things, they're all fine. I have nothing against the sets. I actually have a Chima set that has been on my desk for months. It's the Legend Beast Crocodile.
Oh yeah.
It sits on my desk, and I actually it's missing one part, and I like it. I actually like animals a lot, especially reptiles, and so I thought that's really cool. I like a lot of the motif. I like animal motifs. That's fine. But the minifigures, I don't like anthropomorphic anything.
Yeah.
And so Chima does not strike any chords with me. In fact, it's quite the opposite. So I'm not big on Krager. I'm not big on any of the tribes. But the sets themselves are really impressive. They're really good.
They are. So those are all good things. Set design, world, hierarchy. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
My internet might be dropping because I can't load web pages.
Okay.
Those are all good. What did Chima fail at? Basically everything else. It did very little right other than that. I guess that's not completely fair. The TV show, at least on a technical level, was about as good as Ninjago. On a technical level, like visuals and stuff. But the story wasn't interesting. The voice acting and the characterization left a lot to be desired. And I think if I had to pick one problem with it, even all these years later, I would say it is the characters. Mm-hmm. Because they had a lot of them. They had a lot of characters from a lot of different tribes, and they were all like cliches or stereotypes, basically boiled down to that one personality trait. And the characters who broke that mold, the main ones, Laval and Krager, were kind of horrible. Laval's probably the worst Lego protagonist. He was a petulant child with a horrible voice that just sounded very, very, very awkward.
It was very hoarse.
Very hoarse.
He was a lion. No.
Wow.
No, it was very hoarse, raspy. The voice actor is probably a very proficient voice actor. It's nothing against him personally. I'm just not fond of the direction that voice took.
No, and you heard it a lot because he took up the bulk of the characterization.
Mm-hmm.
He was very poorly written as well. He went through arcs only to completely backtrack on them, to grow in very cliche ways, only to then lose that growth. He did not make for a compelling main character, and Krager, who was supposed to be the main antagonist, was even worse because he had no agency. From episode 1, he was quite literally mind-controlled by his sister, who had a mind control plant and used it to turn him evil. And that was the premise for the show. This dude controlled by his sister and the mind control flower manipulated the animal tribes for something. I kind of forget what exactly they were trying to accomplish.
I don't remember.
Something about the chi deposits. Oh yeah, it was also drugs. It was also drug propaganda.
Well, okay, we kind of made that up, but
it was a meme, but it's true.
We made a lot of allegories about the protagonists doing drugs. It's like, all right, time to chi up, and so that was a heavy part of our coverages.
Yep. And then the other interesting little fun fact about Chima, I don't know if many people know, is there's a lot of controversy when it comes to Chima and Thundercats.
Yeah.
Which is not a franchise that I am immediately familiar with.
I am not familiar with it at all, and nor will I be.
I was actually doing a little bit of research on this the other day, ironically, because I was talking to Haley about it, and she had no clue. So I went back and I took a look at things. I've pieced it together from a lot of context from what people have said, including the actual showrunner for the Thundercats Cartoon Network show, which was around this same time. Thundercats was trying to get a Lego theme. The people actually sent Lego a pamphlet, basically pitching them the idea of Lego Thundercats. We know this because the showrunner actually posted about it on Facebook. And he has since deleted the post, but there's evidence that it exists if you would like to go see for yourself. They sent them stuff, including potential set design concepts to show that something like that could work. You know, what the minifigures could look like. And according to the showrunner, Chima looks very similar to artwork that was included in that pitch booklet for Lego Thundercats, which they rejected. Specifically calls out minifigure armor and vehicles. So he's implying outright design plagiarism, which is already very shady. But the worst thing is that the Thundercats Cartoon Network show that was ongoing at this time was canceled after one season, but it was renewed for season 2 until Cartoon Network accepted Lego's offer for Chima instead, and they canceled that second season, which they had already renewed it for. I don't know why. Probably something to do with how much money they would get or have to pay to actually run that show when they already had a partnership with Lego because of Ninjago. But Chima is, according to all these reports, is obviously hearsay, but it's kind of just rip-off Thundercats. It's a Lego-sanctioned knockoff product. And the proof's in the pudding. If you look at the main character of Thundercats, Lion-O, it's literally Laval.
Yeah.
Like, the coloration is the same. The dude is the same, particularly in the Cartoon Network show that was airing at the time, rather than his initial portrayal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty egregious, and that's just on a conceptual level. The actual product, again, was also bad. The story was simple. The characters were simple. I'll never forget how the premiere of the show was this ridiculously convoluted mess that had flashbacks within flashbacks, and then time in medias res, time speed up. It was like every bad writing trope just thrown into a blender and immediately put forth, and then it resolved its conflict by the end of the 2-episode premiere. It was over. The factions united against the heroes. They beat them. They went off and did their own thing. And then, like a month or two later, the series started proper and essentially had to reset the status quo back to how the conflict was in order to prolong it for 18 more episodes of Monster of the Week cartoon fare, where, I wonder what new evil plot Kragger will concoct this week to try to take down the heroes and get the chi. It was very dull. It was not interesting at all.
Yeah.
It did eventually go somewhere, though. It did build to something because they ditched the Monster of the Week kind of serialized nature, and they did what HF tried to do, except they actually committed to it, and they stuck with it for 8 episodes for the Outland tribe, where Laval got exiled and had to face the consequences of his actions, and then the Fire and Ice season, which was generally pretty good. They actually did have a consistent story. Laval never was a good character, but some of the others got some focus. And I would say, but see, again, I'm trying to praise it, but even Chima at its best never really reached Ninjago at its worst, which I think is the problem.
I just feel that Chima, it's a de facto children's show, and I say that more derogatorily than anything else. It never aimed to do what Ninjago does in some instances, and Bionicle almost always did. And it doesn't aim to aspire. It's nothing that's written for a higher bracket of viewer that younger viewers can look up at and go, that's super cool because older kids like that.
Yeah.
Not like Bionicle did, and not like Ninjago has the tendency to do. And so it never, I mean, it never gripped me. I wasn't the target demographic, and I haven't actually encountered anyone of the target demographic that really clicked with it. They really liked it. Like, I don't know any legitimate Chima fans. There's certainly no Chima community currently.
Stephen Villman's the only person I've ever seen be very passionate
Yeah, except for him.
about Chima. And no, there's definitely no community. It has really left no lasting legacy other than that show that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
So, like, I regret being as harsh as I was on the coverages way back when, because obviously I never want to offend, but I don't really disagree with any of the things past me said either. I would just phrase them differently.
Yeah, well, yeah. No, I agree. I disagree with the
very...
presentation. It was unfounded and certainly immature. But
Yeah,
I don't
that
disagree with the spirit of the message, which was we did not like Chima. We did not feel that it was up to the standard of quality we've come to expect from stories.
Yep. Pretty much. And so, for the purpose of this conversation, being relevant, this one's a little bit easier than your HF. It's a little less nuanced. When you're making a story, plan it to be a story from word go. Do not end your story and then try to continue it, because it makes it feel artificial. Have a plan, commit to it, and also make good characters that are compelling and interesting and have personal motivations for doing what they're doing, not mind control flower made me do it. And yeah, just Chima's problem, it didn't tell a good story. It was very by the numbers. It was very basic. It didn't really aspire, like you said. So that's what I would take it. HF's was have a vision. Chima is kind of like that. I would say take risks, have a goal. Have a goal you're trying to work towards, not just make a show, which is what this was from all reports. It's just knock off Thundercats. Just make a show like this, but with Legos so we don't have to pay licensing fees.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah. So, okay. That basically sums up Chima. Which one next?
Wait, well, we got... I want to save Ninjago for last, because it's a success story. We got Nexonites and Elves.
Okay, let's go ahead and discuss Elves, since it isn't... So, we wanted to wait until we had seen Elves and finished Nexonites before we did this episode. It didn't really pan out. I wanted to watch it independently, but unfortunately I've not had the time to do so.
Nope.
So I literally could not. So we have not seen Elves.
I've seen Elves.
Oh, you've seen Elves?
I've seen Elves. We watched it while you were fired.
Oh. Cool. That's wonderful, Meso. Wonderful. Just. So I hate elves. No.
I'm sorry.
No, this just means you're gonna be able to talk about this more than I would.
Look, I forget it. A lot of it. Yeah, look, Elves was a theme. They had mini episodes that I believe were released on TV. I think. I forget if it was.
Don't know.
I thought it was Disney Channel.
I don't know.
Let me take a look. Lego Elves mini movies. Wikipedia. It's difficult to find where the stuff actually aired. Oh wait, no, I was right. So we had an animated television series, Lego Elves, which aired in 2015 on Disney Channel, which I find fascinating. And it had a bunch of episodes that were like released online, and then a few episodes which were released actually on TV. So I kind of hit up both, and it had a specific art style that's difficult to describe. Wikipedia calls it limited animation, which sounds about right because I thought it looked horrible. Mm-hmm. Sorry. I could tell it was limited animation. It wasn't great. But it did have a unique, color palette. It was an actual full scale show. Then they kind of elevated it a little bit in 2017. They completely changed art styles, like I see people in the chat saying, and they actually had a Netflix show. I think it was a full 8-episode Netflix show that was released that was produced by Studio Mir. And for anybody who doesn't know who Studio Mir is, they are responsible for Avatar: The Legend of Korra, The Boondocks, Voltron: Legendary Defender, and the new Young Justice show, Young Justice Outsiders, the 3rd season of that, as well as films, etc. So they're a pretty prestigious animation studio. And I see people in chat saying, is Elves really seen as a successor to Bionicle? Your mileage may vary, admittedly, but yes. It's just like Chima. It had very similar trends to Bionicle. It had a world with a deep mythology, with an elemental focus, and with a plot that had continuity. Those are the big key points. It was definitely simplified. It was catered towards young girls, but when it came out, it was released as a companion piece, a companion theme to Lego Friends, which was at that point the only theme using the mini dolls and whatnot. And this theme was like, hey, let's make a franchise for girls that actually has a plot and is actually a story. And I mean, I never saw the webisodes. I can't speak to their quality, but it obviously did well enough to justify the Netflix show. And I have seen that, and I can say it's really freaking good.
Really?
The reason I praise it is because, well, I don't really want to talk about it without spoiling. I don't want to talk about it and spoil because I want people to go see it. All I'll say is this. I call it a successor to Bionicle because I'm comparing it to Bionicle G2, which was released the year before. And this show feels a lot like Journey to One in a lot of ways.
Oh, no.
Except it's actually...
You said you wanted people to see it.
Except that it's actually good. Specifically, its final act has a lot of similarities. Journey to One's final act, which is notably the worst part of that show, except in Elves, it's one of the better parts of the show.
Interesting.
So, that's why. It has a lot of stuff, like just buzzwords from the theme, like the Shadow Realm is an actual thing.
Oh, no.
When I say that, I literally do mean it has direct similarities to Journey to One. And yes, someone in chat, is it better than the G2 Bionicle Netflix show? Without a doubt. It's like on a different plane of quality. Now, when I say that, Journey to One's a very low bar. You know what I mean? Journey to One's writing was never anything to write home about, even when it was decent, and that's before it plunged off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
The strengths were always its art direction. So, Elves also has a good art direction. It just has a competent plot that doesn't really have many holes, but it's still for a younger demographic. It's still kind of cheesy. So don't, expect Bionicle levels of complexity and, morality and, intricacy and all these warring factions. No, it's a pretty simple story, but it works. And when I walked out of it, I had a pretty positive experience. And I don't really have many problems with it. And it was pretty beloved. People love it. But its problem is that it was not wildly successful like Ninjago or Bionicle to get prolonged past the 3-year production run. So it actually ended after 3 full years. So I believe it had... actually, no, it went to 3.5. It had a winter wave in 2018.
Oh.
So fair enough. But still, it was around 3 years. It didn't get vastly prolonged for no reason other than I imagine it just didn't sell crazy well, or they did everything they planned how to do for it, so they just decided to end it. Chima was also very similar. Say what you will about it, it did conclude its run as well. Its 3-year run. So if anything, that's the only reason why I don't think Elves has too much of a legacy, is people don't really pay too much attention to it because they're like, it's for girls. But I mean, Freaking Bionicle is catered towards mostly boys, and G2 was trash. So expand your horizons a little bit. So its gender catering demographic doesn't really automatically mean it's good. Give elves a chance. It's pretty good, and it's on Netflix still, so it can't hurt you to go watch it.
Yeah, I intend to see it. I just haven't had the opportunity to, and I'm not going to today. That's for darn sure, because we have some Call of Duty to play.
Oh yes.
So,
Like Mange in chat puts it very very well. Elves is a shame in the sense that because of social stigma, it was harder for boys to give it a shot. Yeah, pretty much. Which, I mean, you could say that's Lego's fault for catering way too much into the mini doll side of things, but that's a whole other discussion for another day. In short, give it a watch. You'll probably be pleasantly surprised if you saw Journey to One. That's what I'll say. As far as lessons to take, really nothing. It did what it wanted to do, and it did it pretty well, but it didn't do it well enough to get too much of a crazy life. It was a good theme.
mm-hmm. Okay. All right, cool. I don't really have much to say on this because, again, I haven't seen it. I have one set, and that's about all I've consumed from Elves. So,
Yeah,
I need to give it a fair shake before I can say anything more.
that's fair. In that case, let's talk about the last footnote, which is Nexo Knights.
Yes. All right, let me go ahead and bring this picture up.
Now, this one's probably going to be fast.
Yes, we're going to make this one fast as well because we've actually seen a reasonable amount of this show, I would say.
We saw 5 episodes.
So we saw a reasonable amount of this show. Okay, I did not realize there was so few.
Yeah.
What I saw, see, this is the show where I want to finish it.
Uh-huh.
I wanted it to finish it too. It never completed, which is a crying shame. I liked
That's the most
show.
interesting thing about it.
I liked the show, what I saw. Unfortunately, 2 things were working against it. 1, I didn't get gripped as quickly as I wanted to. And 2, it has Ninjago syndrome, which is, we didn't really know the release schedule, and so it wasn't consistent. So I could never really keep up with it, and when episodes came out, I didn't care. And I kind of just dropped it. But I want to watch the show in its entirety to give it a fair shake.
Which is totally fair, and I respect that. What I would say about it, though, is it suffered very similarly to G2. I think one of the reasons why G2 was hard for it to succeed because it had Ninjago as competition, which I firmly believe in. When you release 2 things side by side, and Ninjago is such a juggernaut that it is, and Ninjago is just outperforming everything, you really have to do good and you really have to stand out in order to survive alongside that. G2 barely even tried. They were very cautious. They tipped the toe in the water with the online animations. Nexo Knights tried. They had a full-scale TV show. It just didn't have a good start. I've heard it does build, but it had a really rocky start because the characters, again, are very archetypal. You know, Lance was the dude who was very arrogant, very full of himself. Aaron was Liwa.
No, he was not. Gosh dang it, Mess. So one of these days you'll actually get the Tomasa characters and know what they're like, because you just don't. You've got such a poor grasp on all of them.
My God.
Gosh dang it.
I think that Aaron being the thrill seeker is very Liwa-esque.
Well, Liwa's not a thrill seeker. You know who's a thrill seeker, Meso? Mato's a thrill seeker.
Oh boy.
So, he's Mato. Continue.
Sure.
Gosh.
Axel was hungry, and he liked food, and Macy? Was it Macy?
Yeah, it was Macy.
Macy wanted to prove herself because she was a girl. She wanted to be a warrior, not a princess. You're not exactly pushing any boundaries of characterization with those traits. And then there's Clay, who I didn't really get what his character was supposed to be. I kind of assumed that he was going to fill kind of like a Tahu-esque role and be like a hothead. I remember we had debates about this way back when for the 5 episodes we watched.
Vaguely recall having those debates.
But I never really got a vibe from his character that he really had anything going on. I think what they ended up settling on was that, like the wiki says, often referred to as the uptight knight, Clay's defining characteristics are that he likes to be organized and dedicated to knighthood. He values justice above all, so he's the ultimate good guy. Arrogant guy, Matau, hungry, and girl. Those are the Nexonites characters.
Yeah.
They weren't that gripping to me. And I'm sure they go through arcs that are. But paired up against Ninjago, which I will admit, again, bit of an unfair advantage because they've been going for so many years. So they've already developed their characters. You know, when they were introduced, they were pretty simple too. But it was hard to get invested in. And then, like you said, the release schedule too kind of really took down investment. But you're right. We can't really discuss it too much because we haven't seen it. All we can say is that we haven't, which speaks to something as well. You know, that rolls in. We were never that interested in following up. We watched all of Chima, and we watched 5 episodes of Nexonites. So file that away however you want, interpret it however you will. The only thing I really wanted to hone in on with Nexonites is that for some reason that I do not understand, out of every theme we've talked about today, it is the only one to just get abruptly cut off in the story department. By which I mean they made another wave of sets, but they did not release any story content alongside of them. The Techno Vampires, its last wave, just exist in a vacuum because they never ordered us another season of the TV show to tell that story. At least with Hero Factory, which also ended on a cliffhanger, it just ended with that. The Nexonites continued past its TV show. We just never, saw it. We just never saw a story for those sets.
Yeah.
So I wonder why that happened. Because that's kind of unheard of. Even G2 got an ending to its story. I don't know. But it was abruptly cut off in 2017, even though the sets did release in winter of 2018. And that's Nexonites. Yeah. It's kind of a weird anomaly. It was the Chima replacement. But Ninjago just kind of took it over. And a lot of people who wanted Castle were kind of disappointed that what they got was Techno Castle.
Yeah. Now, as far as the sets are concerned, I like some of the sets. I'm not super big on the color scheme being blue, different shades of blue and orange, because it does a couple of things. First, it basically null and voids any unique properties that Clay has, because his color scheme is blue and orange.
Ha!
And so he just looks like the rest of the theme. And maybe that's intentional, because he's supposed to be kind of the protagonist, the leader, the head honcho. I didn't like that. And then a lot of the sets, what they would do is they'd have this primary color scheme of blue and orange, and then they'd throw in 2 other colors to represent an individual character whose color scheme wasn't blue and orange. So they'd have green and gold, like lime and gold for Aaron. Then they'd have red for Macy, and then white and gray for Lance. And it would just muddle a lot of the visual cohesion of the sets, and I don't like that.
Nor do I. None of the Knights sets ever really appealed to me. The villains are pretty good.
There's an exception. The exception are the mechs.
Yeah.
The tiny mechs are easily my favorite sets from Nexonites. I got all of them because they're so good. I like their uniqueness. I like their concept. I love their color schemes. I love the prints on the minifigures. Those are my favorite parts. And that is...
the battle suits?
Yeah, the battle suits. There we go.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm super biased because Aaron's, like, his torso print and his leg print and the whole minifigure, it's Mata green and lime. It is a Liwa Mata minifigure. And I love that so much. I'm very content with them.
Nice. Yeah, those sets are very innovative. I remember having hope that they would kind of continue Construction's legacy, but Well,
Yeah.
either way, they tried. They tried to do something. They tried to innovate with Mixel joints.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty cool. And a lot of those set designs were creative. It's just the color schemes that never really stuck the landing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some comments that clarify some things. Dark Nova 3529 says Elves last season didn't have story content, I believe. So if that's true and they did have a set wave and no story, fair enough. Again, I'm not an expert, but thank you for clarifying that if that's true, because that would put it right alongside Nexo Knights, actually. Right around the same time frame, too, weirdly enough. And then Spiang says, I've heard that the app game finishes the story, but I've never played it. That wouldn't surprise me at all, actually, if they just had to kind of improv something.
It wouldn't surprise me, but I would be fine with that. That's acceptable so long as it finishes.
True. Very true. So, when I look back at Nexo Knights, I really find it difficult to take any kind of a moral or a learning lesson from it, because I really don't know why it didn't succeed. Some may say it did succeed because it finished its run, and I mean that's fair. It did last for about 3 years. It just kind of got cut off abruptly. No one really talks about it. It didn't leave any kind of lasting story impact. There is no Nexo Knights fan community, and the sets are very hit or miss for people. But it did last for a few years. People did like it. People did buy it. So I really don't have anything to extrapolate for it other than it existed. And I didn't care enough about it to watch it.
Yeah, basically. But I do want to give it a fair shake and go back and watch it. So.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. Okay.
The crown jewel.
Yes, let's go ahead and talk about the final theme. Oh, wait. Very briefly, what can we take away from Nexo Knights?
I just said.
Okay.
I was like, I wish I could have a moral.
Okay.
There really isn't one I can think of.
My bad. Okay. Let's talk about the elefante in the room. And that is Ninjago. Ninjago is big.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't think that we even truly understand exactly how large of a theme it is. Because it's such a phenomenon globally right now.
Yep.
Ninjago is easily, if there is any theme that is a spiritual successor to Bionicle and has come the closest to that Bionicle feeling, it is Ninjago. And in a lot of instances, it even surpasses it.
Yup.
So go ahead and talk a little bit about Ninjago.
I mean, if you ever want to hear us talk more in depth, as Eljay mentioned earlier, we do a full Ninjago podcast over on the TTV channel, Ninjago Cast, pretty much ever since Sons of Garmadon started. A little before that, right? Mm-hmm. We did it for Hands of Time. It was Hands of Time we started.
Yeah, I think
Ninjago Cast proper. Before that, we did Ninjago coverages all the way back to Rebooted, but we discuss it in depth. We break it down. We episode by episode, because there's a story. The biggest thing with Ninjago is a consistent story. It's long running. It does the Bionicle thing where the last wave typically affects something in the next wave to build continuity, and it's actually interesting. It's actually got some nuance, some characterization, some layers, some emotion, some lore. It pretty much checks all the boxes. Your mileage may vary on whether you're personally a fan, but all the reasons we like talking about Bionicle can easily be also applied to Ninjago, which is why it's able to have fit in a home so nicely. It doesn't have a mundane story like Hero Factory. It doesn't have bad characters like, Chima or Nexo Knights. And it doesn't have inconsistent presentation like Elves, where so it had years of animations. It is 100% consistent. If you want the Ninjago experience, watch the show. As a TV show, it's giant. It's currently on its 11th season, and it's almost all on Netflix, except for season 11, which I think, if I had to point to one thing that's Ninjago's greatest strength, it is that. Mm-hmm. It's its unified media. Full story is there. And if I had to point out one of the things I don't like about it, it would be that's the story. All the other stuff, all the books, all the graphic novels, all the whatever, that's non-canon, with the exception of Dark Island. So if you want to watch Ninjago canon, watch the show. Nothing else really matters, which I wish wasn't the case, but it's a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really good. It's got good characters and a good plot and good sets and good visuals that get better every year. Most recently they switched animation studios and everybody decried it because some trailers made it look horrible, but it's actually pretty phenomenal. It has some very stellar VFX and animations. The story's not perfect.
No.
I will admit. People in chat saying right now, Timmy's watched the first 1.5 seasons and I got bored of it. Too cheesy. Does it get better? Well, here's the thing. It grows up with the viewer very well. If you're coming into it now, starting from the early days, you might be a little put off, and I can understand why. The important thing to realize about it is it came out 8 years ago, and it was marketed to kids back then. They've done what BIONICLE tried to do and kind of succeeded at by aging it up, but BIONICLE also had stuff like the Paraka Rab, which was very, very poor. Ninjaga's aged up very well. Each year has more emotional stakes. The characters get more and more fleshed out. The plot gets more and more intricate and complex. Much less monster of the week. Much less cheesy. But it is a progression. It does not start off that way. It starts off very, very low stakes, very cheesy. But that build is something I really appreciate because it knows that people will age up, and if they don't make the storyline sophisticated, people will lose interest and fall off. So they do it very elegantly, whereas HF, tried to do that and kind of failed.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a very good story.
There you go. Okay.
No, I wasn't cutting out. I was just pausing in case you had anything to say.
No. I mean, I pretty much agree. I would definitely. So Ninjago, the TV show. For starters, I definitely recommend it. I would say watch up to season 6. There's not a lot there. You can chew through it in probably 3 days. And if you don't like it by season 6, Skybound, it's not for you. In my opinion.
That's a good point.
I would definitely say that at least. But yeah, no, Ninjago is interesting in the sense that it's okay. For starters, the worst part about Ninjago is its community, which I feel can be said for a lot of things. There are essentially no good Ninjago YouTubers. At least no good large ones. I won't say there are no good Ninjago YouTubers because there are a lot of smaller ones that I've heard are really good, really nice.
I'm a fan of Haley Wolf and her Ninjago autopsy.
I don't really count her. And it's literally only because we know her and I'm friends with her. So, but the big ones, even ones I've had on this show, I don't endorse. I no longer, in hindsight and retrospect, I don't recommend you watch them. There are some I will actively decry and say are toxic individuals who do not deserve the fame, notoriety, or viewer base that they have garnered. They just don't.
Wow.
And there are, of course, thankfully, some very nice people in the Ninjago community. Haley Wolf, a Marvelous Jan is simply a wonderful person. He's fantastic. He was on this show, and he's great. But the Ninjago community has a lot of issues with complaining. They don't like, and I mean, people don't generally like change, like I was talking about earlier with 2009 and Hero Factory. People don't like change, and that's understandable. But the Ninjago community has a special flair to it, where if they don't like something, they decide that the best way to disclose these feelings, to make themselves heard, is to just attack people, and then attack the thing that they're consuming, and make snap judgments on it if what they see is not immediately pleasing to them. Like, if they see a 30-second commercial, the season is done. It's over. They've seen it all as far as they care. They don't care about it. They don't like it. Ninjago is nowhere near what it should be. It's no longer good. It's canceled. They hate it, etc., etc. And then the actual season comes out, and it's one of the best. It's stupid.
Equal parts like attacking the people, but also just like a weird degree of fear mongering. Like if one thing goes wrong, that means that the sky is falling.
Yeah, like constant fear mongering. Like even when the season is good, it's like, oh, this is awful, this is terrible. Ninjago isn't good anymore, and it's so tiring. This wasn't a thing in the Bionicle community during Generation 1.
Nope. The biggest thing about Bionicle in the community was, is it ending? Like people were always like, oh, is Bionicle gonna end? They were never like, oh, this sucks now.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say, not in defense of the people, but to elaborate as to why that might be, Bionicle didn't really change in as many drastic ways as Ninjago has done. It was more changed by degrees. Whereas Ninjago does have these like periods of upheaval where things change. Like, okay, the show's going along great, but then all of a sudden we're going to introduce the concept of the realms, and we're going to expand the scope by like 20 times. Oh, and now all of a sudden there's a movie, but it's not going to be connected to the show. But now all of a sudden the characters are going to get redesigned to look just like the movie, and we're bringing in imagery and stuff from the movie to draw parallels. And now all of a sudden characters might die, and the marketing tone is like 10 times more edgy. And now all of a sudden it's rebooted, and it has a new animation studio, and it looks different, and it's now like it's very cheesy again, and it's kind of rolled back. There is a constant period of change, which I would think would stop these snap judgments from being made, because I would have imagined people would have gotten used to the change by now as a way to keep things fresh. And by like the fourth time you think the sky is going to fall and it hasn't, maybe you might stop panicking as much. That's what I would think. But I guess not. People still get scared over everything, even though the track record is almost entirely good, with the exception of the movie, and you can't fault the showrunners for that. I don't know. It's a bit frustrating to deal with, specifically for the latest season.
Yeah.
Because it's shaping up to be one of the better ones.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So I don't know. But Ninjago itself is... I personally have a bias toward Bionicle. I think when it comes to aspirational content, it doesn't get better. I hold it to a standard that might be unfair to other things, but I think Bionicle is the best story theme LEGO's ever made. It's the best original IP that they've made, to me. Ninjago comes the closest. It is engaging a lot of the time. It doesn't always talk down to the viewer. Nope, there are instances of that, of course, but it doesn't do it like Shima did. I find a lot of it to be actually quite entertaining. There's a lot of humor to it that jives with me. They're always this season they've done new and interesting and fun things. It's a large, expansive theme that constantly has releases. They have a guy like Greg Farshtey for the Bionicle community, Tommy Anderson, who interacts with people, the community, and gives insight, and he's just so kind. He's just such a genuinely nice person.
Can confirm. This is true.
And so, Ninjago itself, I enjoy on the basis of a LEGO theme.
Yeah. I do agree. I think it's very good, and it carries the torch for Bionicle in the modern era of a theme with a mythology and good characterization and cool sets and an ongoing, continuity-based story that doesn't talk down to people 9 times out of 10 and isn't afraid to get crazy with their story. There's enough there to discuss, and no, it's not always good. There have been things I've just absolutely despised. Hands of Time was a horrible season. March of the Onis ending left a lot to be desired. To this day, I'm not that big of a fan of it. And it's full of plot holes on occasion, and abilities changing for no apparent reason to fit the scope of the story. So it's not like it has no issues. It does, but those issues don't outweigh the many positive things that it does, which is why it has been elevated to such a status. And it's why it's the true Bionicle successor, because that's very similar to Bionicle. Bionicle had a lot of problems too. But when you looked at it and you weighed it in comparison to all the things Bionicle did right, its successes are like 10-1. And the legacy it's left shows as much. If Bionicle was truly trash, there wouldn't be a community for it. And the same is true with Ninjago. It's cultivated an audience of people that actually love watching it and discussing it and following it. And a lot of them might be petulant children. A lot of them might be, scared of change. A lot of them might not have any kind of decorum when it comes to actually interacting with content producers on social media. But there's still an active fan base that's passionate about something and likes discussing it, which is more than you can say for Hero Factory, Chimo, or Nexonites. Even when those were ongoing, they did not have the same kind of fervor that Ninjago has displayed or Bionicle did display. And I don't know what it is, but Ninjago's got that X factor that just makes it work. And I know it's more complicated than just being good, but a lot of times I'm just like, I'm thankful that Ninjago actually is of quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm very, very thankful for that. If anything, its biggest misstep was the movie, because it had a chance to really catapult into, mass media appeal, really widespread, and it just kind of didn't because the movie wasn't great. But again, the movie wasn't great because it didn't do what the TV show was doing. It didn't follow the show, and it didn't take lessons from the TV show. It tried to be a weird, satire of the TV show.
Yeah, and honestly, without context, it just feels very alien. Like, I was thinking back on it, and the movie kind of does a little bit like what Nexonites does, in the sense that Nia is introduced almost right away as, oh, she's the girl ninja. And that always really irritated me, because Nia has a lot of other characteristics to her that really make her an engaging character.
Yep.
And then the movie dumbs it down, like Nexonites.
One of the things I loved about Nia's character was that she was Kai's sister, but it was never about her being a girl and she couldn't fight because she was a girl. It was about her not being a ninja, and she immediately strove to be useful despite all of that, and she carved out her own unique identity and skill set for the team through sheer hard work and determination. And she became a unique asset, which is why, to this day, I kind of wish she wasn't a ninja, even though I've gotten used to it.
I'm fine with her being a ninja, but there is merit to having that individuality.
Point being, her character was done well on the show.
Yeah. Also, real quick, it's kind of funny that we're doing this today, because I saw this on Twitter, and Benjamin just mentioned this in the chat. The movie is 2 years old today.
Oh, boy.
This is its 2-year birthday.
Well, I mean, happy birthday, I guess. Thanks for killing the LCU, probably. I still blame Ninjago a lot for that.
Yeah.
It put a black mark on the critical acclaim record. It came out too soon. It didn't, it kind of repelled the TV fans, and it didn't really stand on its own merit. It wasn't great. So yeah. I will never talk that highly about the movie. The show, on the other hand, is quality stuff. My problems, like I already said, it's not always perfect, and also, I don't like how expanded media is treated, and I also don't like how, it's very clear with Bionicle, even though a lot of stuff was improv, they had a story roadmap planned. We knew things like the Mononoke robot was going to be a thing, always. And there was a guide that they generally followed, even though stuff did get changed, like the third year of Ignition, got changed to the Toa Nuva or whatever. It generally followed its intended vision, whereas it is very clear that Ninjago has gone through, about 4 separate restarts where they've had to expand the world in order to allow it to continue past when they had planned for it to end. And I think they've almost all been done well, which is a feat unto itself. It's really impressive. They were able to wing it, because first you had its first cancellation, then it came back with rebooted, Then you had to use the Tournament of Elements to vastly expand the reach with stuff like, the fact that there were other elemental masters besides them, and introducing that concept of lineage. Then you had the Realm Crystal, which was like equivalent to Hero Factory, just being able to say you can do anything, anywhere, anytime. Because who knows what another realm could be? Like Chima's another realm. In that, like, that's actually canon. Chima is a Ninjago realm. It was in that one episode. And then you had Sons of Garmadon, which had to reboot kind of after the movie. There was a time skip, paradigms shifted, and now you have the most recent kind of soft reboot. They keep things fresh periodically, and they introduce new elements that allow them to continue their story. And the fact that there hasn't really been a misfire yet, like all 4 of those examples are pretty good, 4 or 5. I don't have a problem with any of them. It's commendable because they're able to keep things fresh. Not everything has to be intricately planned out. You just have to have your new stuff follow the core like tenets of the theme and its values, and not step on the toes of what you've already introduced. And it pretty much does it. I still have problems. Like, it's very apparent to me that the elemental powers doesn't really make sense if you go back to the beginning of the show, because it was very different back then, Their elemental powers were dormant. They had to be unlocked through Lloyd giving the golden power. But they also used the weapons to get elemental power. But then the elemental power was in them all along because their parents were elemental masters. And I guess Lloyd didn't really need to give them his power. They just kind of would unlock it through true potential eventually, but they already hit their true potential, so they didn't unlock it then. Maybe that wasn't their truest true potential. They still have to unlock true potential like Cole's lava arms, which are unexplained. So again, nothing's perfect, but its flaws don't override its successes. And that's why Ninjago is good to this day. It has integrity as a product. And it's neat. Give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'll say. That's pretty much it for Ninjago.
Yeah, no, honestly, I have to agree. Ninjago does a lot of the things that were recommended earlier for themes, and it follows through with them. I think that it's really good for this generation of young Lego fans. They get to grow up with something as well, like we did with Bionicle. Again, I'm not sure if it's super aspirational yet like Bionicle was. You don't need that, of course, but I definitely think it helps. And I like the show. I find it entertaining. And I like the people that work on it.
Yep.
So I think that if it's not going to replace Bionicle for anyone, but if you want something to really kind of carry that torch, this is a good start. This is a good place to start and kind of use as a new... I mean, this is currently the de facto LEGO story team.
Yeah.
Or LEGO story theme. It's not Bionicle anymore. Bionicle is an exception, not the rule. But Ninjago may very well be the rule.
Mm-hmm.
But
and it's about to outstrip Bionicle as the longest theme too.
The longest story theme, yes.
Longest story theme, yeah.
So, and I mean, hey, more power to it. That's fine. It shows the longevity of story themes, and it makes me hopeful for more like it and like Bionicle. So, I'm content.
Same. I'm very happy with it. That's not to say I won't criticize it, because I like criticizing the things I love, but Ninjago is a success story. Ninjago is how you do a successor right. Respect your audience. Have a vision. Have something you're aspiring to. And I guess just be good. Have competent writers who can make engaging characters and plots for people. Kids like action. They like drama. They like good characters who have to go through trials. Ninjago has all that. Ninjago has all the check marks, and that's just what Bionicle had.
Yeah. So, okay. I think that covers all of them.
Pretty much.
So.
We need to have a deep introspective discussion on G2 now.
No. No.
its flaws have been talked to death.
Yeah. And besides, I would be fine talking about it, but not this episode.
Yeah. Oh, you mean I could? We could talk about G2 in the future.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that, fellas.
That can be your next appearance.
Well, I mean, I say that, but I don't know what we'd really discuss about it. We've kind of talked it to death.
All right. We'll see what people feel like.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Move on to Q&A.
Okay. Yes. I'm opening up YouTube live chat for questions. First, I'm going to address the email questions. So the first one is from Lego David, and this, first of all, Lego David, if you're listening to this, buddy, I'm going to call you out. You need to reread our website rules when it comes to post content. Specifically the one on spam. So, all right. So his questions are as follows. Hey, LJ, here are my questions for Meso for this week's Eljay Johnsen Show. First, what LEGO construction theme do you think would be the ideal spiritual successor to Bionicle? I don't really know how to address this. I don't know. What LEGO construction theme do you think would be the ideal spiritual successor to Bionicle? I don't know.
Yeah, like it doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, I can't say.
I don't have a personal preference towards a certain concept or aesthetic. I just kind of want something that's good for all those reasons, like I listed earlier. It's not like I'm very desperate to have another theme about biomechanical people doing biomechanical things. I'd be fine if it was humans, if it was fantasy, if it was monsters, if it was aliens, if it was robots. I don't really care so long as it has a good story and good sets. Of course, the problem with that is LEGO construction is limited in what it can do. Star Wars has showed us this, that even in 2018, they still can't make human faces that look good.
Yeah.
Sad to say. So it kind of rules that out. But yeah, I mean, I'm down. I just want to see something with quality, and I would like to see CCBS be used again because it's a good system.
No, fair. No, I can agree. His next question is, what are your thoughts on the Slizers/Throwbots? If they were somehow rebooted with a story, do you think they would be a good successor to Bionicle? Well, again, we don't know. We can't say.
Yeah,
because
they would have just as much of a chance of being good as anything else could be.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. As far as our thoughts on it, I'm contemplating something, Meso. I think you know what I'm contemplating.
Do it.
Yeah, I mean,
make a splash.
There's no reason not to, and I'll make a formal announcement later. So the next theme that I'm reviewing for the retired reviews on the TTV channel is Slizers. It is Throwbots. And Mesa was kind enough to send me the entire catalog, like all of the sets. So I have them now, temporarily. So I've had a moment to kind of mess around with them. By the way, Mesa, did I tell you? I made the Bricklink order for the pieces. I was able to make it from one store.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's going to be $6. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, no.
I'm messing. So, Slizers, I'm not too familiar with the Slizers story. I don't know that much about it. I know that there was a planet. I know that something happened to the planet, and there are robots, not biomechanical beings, but robots on the planet. And I'll be honest, the sets don't really spin my rotor too well, but I haven't spent a lot of time with them, so that might be a little preemptive. But from the little that I've spent with the sets, they're very preliminary.
Awkward. Yeah.
What word did you use?
I use the word awkward.
Awkward, yeah, that's a good word. But I don't want to jump the gun too heavily.
I like them because it's very clear when I look at them. I can see how they evolved into Bionicle.
Yes.
That's what I like about them. As an experiment, as like they're essentially physical concept art to me. That is how I treat them. It's like physical concept art. As actual products, they're not that great. But all the building blocks are there for how it would be iterated upon to become the Toamata, so I find them fascinating. Much in the same way I find safety, integrity, quality fascinating.
Yeah.
And they, yeah, sure. Lego rebooted that and actually gave it a story and some modern set designs that weren't so weird. It could work fine. But is there anything about Slicers that really makes me want to see that come back over a new idea? Also, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's that.
No, I agree. Okay. Next email question is from it's Sir Lojon. And he has a few. Let me see. So first of all, if you could switch the runtimes of any two LEGO themes, for instance, G2 running as long as HF and vice versa, what would they be?
Exactly that.
Okay.
I would have G2 go for 5 years, and HF go for 2.
Okay. Fair enough. Additionally, if you could have any two LEGO themes crossover, what would they be?
Bionicle G1 and G2.
Okay. Nope. You're done.
Mask of Time theory.
So finally, for both of you, do you have any information on the original Bionicle TCG? I'm overhauling Board Game Geek's page for it and would appreciate any info you can give. So TCG, I would believe, stands for the card game.
Yeah. Wasn't that the card game where there were some early plot details on some of them?
Not necessarily plot details, but they were early concepts that did not carry through. Unfortunately, I don't know very much about it. Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
BZP had a lot of info about it at one point. There were topics about it. I would look there. But again, because of what happened with BZP, I'm not sure if that was pre-destruction of all the post-history or post-destruction. But I would check there and crawl through, and maybe you can find some info over there. That's if you're not aware of what that is, it's BZ Power.
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably know about it, but I can't assume that. So.
Yeah. Okay. Chat questions. Let's go ahead and chew into these.
Was there anything on Twitter?
No.
There was one comment we got on Twitter.
Oh, come on.
I want to read this out.
Gosh, okay. Listen, for starters, if anyone has any Twitter questions, you have to use the hashtag the Eljay Johnsen Show. If you don't use it, I won't find it.
Fair enough. Then this is a special case.
Yeah, it is, and it's only because of you. Go ahead.
Well, okay, first of all, I'm just going to say this just in case the guy who asked that question with the TCG isn't reading the chat. Orakume Kigu says, I have a lot of details and the full TCG sets for it.
Okay,
so you can
brilliant.
Partner up. Maybe you can get some of your questions answered.
Yes.
Anyway, go read the question.
I don't have it up. You read the question.
Oh, but I want you to read the question.
I don't have the question up. I told you, unless it's hashtagged, I'm not going to have it.
Okay. So it's by JDog at Jesse Pup asks, do you think Bionicle G3 will have new masks / weapons? And do you think the rumors / theories about G3 being connected to G1 will be true?
What rumors? What theories? What G3? There isn't one. There's no G3. And if you're talking about Faber's thing, that's not Bionicle. It's not G3. And I don't even know if it's going to happen.
I died of laughter when I read that.
What are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense. There's no Generation 3. There isn't any. It doesn't exist.
Look, I don't blame J-Dog for being confused because this is a prime example of what I was warning against in that video. I guarantee he's just heard through the grapevine people talking about G3, Faber, G3, and it was like, oh, I wonder if it had anything to do with it. And then all the people wanting it to be like a G1 continuation. But it's not a thing. There are rumors, as I mentioned at the start of the show, that there will be a new construction theme in 2020. They're unsubstantiated. There is no actual leak to suggest anything. It's literally all rumors. And the one rumor that is even remotely credible specifies it's a new theme and not Bionicle. There's been nothing about Bionicle coming back from any kind of a source. leak, rumor, speculation, nothing. And the Faber thing, like LJ said, even though he's using Bionicle imagery and Bionicle titling, like, even if this was the new construction theme, his posts imply this is a project he's working on. Production would not let it be, ready, even if it was a Lego theme, to release in 2020. So there's absolutely no chance of it. And per his own admission, the name might have to evolve. It's very clear it's going to be like, again, a spiritual successor if it ever even happens. It's not going to be Bionicle returning. So no, there is no G1, G3 connection. There's no G3 as much as we might wish there was. Could there be in the future? Sure, there isn't right now. And also, if there was, yes, I would imagine there would be new masks and weapons. I would certainly hope so. If they re-released the same ones, that'd be pretty trash.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would not like that. And also, it's like the Dark Master says, "Won't it be ironic if it turns out this guy is right?"
Oh my god.
I'm going to execute some restraint here. Okay? But
what is the restraint?
If there's any wisdom I can impart, is don't entertain this.
Yeah.
You will be disappointed and made out to be a fool.
Not even joking or memeing. Don't entertain it.
What if it turns out that he's right? Stop it. Just don't.
All this does is get people's hopes up. This is what I was afraid of. This is why I like Faber. He's gonna forever destroy his reputation, whatever credibility he had as being someone elevated above some guy's stature, will be destroyed if this doesn't pan out to be anything, because he's gonna get people's hopes up. It's gonna spread like wildfire. People thinking this is gonna happen, and then it's not gonna manifest. There's a danger to this. There's a danger.
Nah, we'll get to it. I know what you're laughing at. We'll get to it.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So just don't. Okay.
Just don't.
Also, Green Tornado, you can reword the question with the proper name. Thank you. All right. So let's move on. Next question is from Maniac for Bricks. Is that Joey? It is. Q&A, either of you. Was it encouraging or discouraging when you saw Hero Factory boxes labeled with "from the makers of Bionicle"?
Elj.
I mean, at the time, it was encouraging, I believe. But now it's kind of laughable. Because it's very artificial and shallow.
Yep.
So
essentially, I have no real lasting opinion. I didn't really when it came out. I have even less of an opinion now. From a marketing perspective, I understand it though, because they wanted to get that message across that it was the new cool thing and that you should trust it. But yeah. And technically some of the makers were involved. Set design, sure, Tinseltown tunes, but it's definitely like a pointless endorsement kind of a vibe.
Yeah, pretty much. So okay. Next question. MC Lego Boy, whose question I didn't skip. It came after Joey's. By the way, I have both chats up. OBS has the YouTube chat, so I can see current messages, and then I have
cool.
the chat in another window that I can see. So that's why I'm able to do that. Sweet.
That's really handy.
So MC Lego Boy says, LJ said he hated 2009 Bionicle, and you guys just recently did the Legend Reborn retrospective on TTV. Is the Legend Reborn movie better than Bionicle G2's story as a whole?
Oh, without a doubt. Are you kidding me? The Legend Reborn makes G2 look like... What's even a comparison I could make here?
Again, let me read it again myself. Is the Legend Reborn movie better than G2 as a whole?
No, I mean, I heard the question, and the answer is yes. I'm trying to make some kind of allegory to, like, communicate just how much better it is, but I'm grasping for something, so I'll just say yes. For all the faults with the Legend Reborn, I made a video, the top 10 awesome things about 2009, and a lot of that stuff is in the Legend Reborn. 2009 was a good year. It had a pretty good story. It had some characterization, some growth, some lessons that were learned, some characters with personalities that changed, some meaningful friendships, a plot that was coherent, liberating an oppressed society through unity and friendship and teamwork. It was basic, it was cheesy, and it was bad, but G2 was a bunch of repeated mixed moral messages. I think they learned the value of unity about 6 times and then forgot it in the next problem that they had to deal with. It was very repetitive. There were no interesting characters. Nobody went through any kind of meaningful growth that made you grow attached to any of them. The plot was super simple. The lore was constantly contradicted. 09, even though The Legend Reborn was kind of it was also super connected to the Bionicle story. It was interesting seeing the great beings' homeworld and stuff. This was a big deal. Mata Nui, central character. So yes, it is kind of difficult, admittedly, for me to separate Legend Reborn from 09 as a whole, but personally, the answer is yes.
Okay. Couple of things. Firstly, I hated 09 when we were learning about it through leaks and through the grapevine and through Greg. I love 09. 09 is one of my favorite years. Handedly. I think it goes 01, 04, 09. Don't quote me on that. I need to give it some more thought. But preliminarily, yeah. No, I like 2009 so much. It's a wonderful year. As far as TLR being better than G2, I'm not sure I'm ready to sign off on that just yet. Because it's very... there are multiple facets to saying stuff like that. Well, that's a year and a half versus a movie that's less than 2 hours.
That's true.
I don't know if I'm necessarily ready to say, yeah, absolutely. I don't necessarily disagree with the points Meso was making, though. The movie still has a lot of depth to it. But the problem is, are we really taking that depth to be from the film or from the year? Because if you ask me...
It's hard for me to separate.
If you ask me if 2009 is a better year on its own than G2 was entirely, then yes. 2009 is much better than G2. But I don't know if I can say that's true of The Legend Reborn.
That's a very good point.
And what yes, a lot of that is going to boil down to is which do I like more? The Legend Reborn or Journey to One?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know yet.
Yeah, it's true. It's a very nuanced question.
Yeah. So, I'm going to abstain from answering right now because that's something I need to give thought.
My initial impression was very, extreme just because, the 2 things left an impact on me in G2. Book number 3, Escape from the Underworld, and graphic novel 2, Battle of the Mask Makers, or whatever. But you can't discount Journey to One just because of how it ended. It was still, it had 3 other episodes.
Because think about it this way. Which fight was better? The Glatorian versus the Bone Hunters, or Liwa Uniter versus Umarak?
Liwa Uniter versus Umarak.
Exactly my point. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. No.
But the Umarak the Destroyer versus Toa fight was also hot garbage, so it kind of balances out. It was worse than Motonui v Tuma.
But again, see, again, I'm not ready to sign off on that.
So you say, I have been bathed in your elemental light, ancient one.
I mean, come on, man.
It was you who gave me the power I needed.
Are you ready to join the winning? Oh gosh, nope.
Don't die, please.
Yeah,
I need you to host this.
That was a mistake.
I get your point, though. Both are cheesy.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah. Wait, quick update.
Oh,
the Dark Master said, does Meso intend to make top 10 lists for the other years? Not immediately, maybe in the future, referring to the top 10 awesome things about 09. I literally only made it for 09 because it is the most reviled year. People say 09 sucks.
No. I don't know.
It is more reviled than 05. 100%.
Okay, you know what? I'm actually not going to contest that. Fair enough.
Because they're like, oh, it killed Bionicle. It took us out of the Matoran universe. We stopped following the Toa. It was horrible. It was boring. The desert was boring. Motonui sucks. Bad, bad, bad. But it did a lot of good things, which is why I felt the need to point those out because nobody ever talks about them. But I might, if I'm ever like super bored and or desperate for videos, I might do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Carry on.
Fair enough. So Coda asks, Hi Meso, do you think Bionicle G1's story would have been better or worse with the TV show as their main story medium?
I don't know.
Wow.
It's because when we talk about that, we had a discussion like this a while back about like, well, what if the other years had been given movies? We kind of determined you couldn't really do a movie for all the years, like Ignition. You would kind of need a show. But like me just saying nebulously, yes, a show would have been good is a very vague statement because you're not actually thinking about it practically, like episode runtimes or distribution format or how long a season would be or how many seasons. Because I can say yes while also saying that in order to tell the story, you would need a heck of a lot of runtime. And I'm not sure if Bionicle would have been given that. But I do believe there's merit in visual media. I think most of the years could have been translated fine. It's really just the later ones and when they start introducing the story serials that it gets kind of muddled thinking about how that could even be adapted. But I don't know. The books being able to get inside people's heads is a big deal. When you take that away and you lose that introspection, the characters really have to be super detailed and go through a lot of growth to make that work. And I don't know if a lot of Bionicle's characters necessarily... Like, they were good characters, but I'm just trying to think of them in a normal TV show setting. I don't know. This might be a future discussion point.
Yeah.
I'll say a big old maybe.
Yeah, no, I think that works. I think some things could work as a film. Other things could work as a movie. I think 2001, for instance, could probably work fine as a movie.
Easily.
And I think, honestly, I don't mean to toot my own horn here, but I actually think Biocraft is a good it's a good example of why it could work as a movie.
It is.
Because we were an hour and 10 minutes. We easily could have tacked on another 20 to make it an hour and a half.
Oh, totally. We even discussed it. I think in the movie there's a line about like an approximate amount of time, right? And we landed squarely in the middle.
Yes.
Like Vakama's like, oh, it's just enough to fill up 60 to 90 minute long, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so we easily could have made it a full feature-length film if we had more time. And honestly, if we wanted to make it a little more analogous with 2001, which I don't really think... I think that the movie's the perfect length for what it is supposed to be.
I agree.
I'm glad we didn't tack on another 20 minutes. However, if you wanted a feature-length film for 2001, you could do it. And I think Biocraft is a good example that it's possible to an extent.
I agree.
So. Okay. Let me see. Next question is from the Dark Master, who says, is it safe to say that the Slizers is the Australopithecus that Bionicle is to the human?
What?
Okay.
Sure.
I literally do not know.
I'm pretty sure. I just don't know what that is. I presume it's a genealogy and ancestor of
I guess.
Yes, whatever analogy you're making, it is a direct predecessor. So yes.
Yeah.
Pardon my ignorance.
Sure. Yeah. Anyway. Next question is, I don't know where'd I put it. Where'd it go?
Ha!
No, I had it. Okay. Benjamin Numbers asks, Meso, where did you get your name from?
Oh god. Literally random letters.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I need to make a name. Let me see what I can do that sounds vaguely Bionicle-ish. Do I want to start it with an A? No. A B? No. Maybe an M. Okay, what's a vowel? E. That's how I made my name. There is no deeper meaning. I wish there was. There is.
Basically. I've got a lineage from where my name derives, but yeah, messes.
What up, Lewa Johnson?
Shut up. No, I'm kidding.
How you doing?
Ha! Lewa Johnson! Not never! When you're with me, I'm LJ, you sorry random name person!
Nice.
Anyway, so Justin J. Marler, that was pretty epic, asks... Do you think Bionicle G3 will employ lava shiders and plasma shiders as the weaponry?
Yes, of course. We need all those lava shiders.
This is an
Pretty
in-joke.
it's an in-joke. It was the translation for the HF 2.0 villain blasters. The fire shooters or the lava shooters, whatever. They were called lava shiders in like German.
Yeah. So, it's funny. Cut the Craggle asks, how have you not seen Ghostbusters?
Because I don't really watch many old movies.
This is true.
That's basically it. I'm like film illiterate. So I'm dating a film major, so it's kind of like a learning experience in that way. It's learning about culture and film and TV shows and stuff. It's fun. I'm working my way there. I just haven't seen Ghostbusters yet.
Or the
But
Terminator,
I've heard the reboot
Predator,
or the Matrix.
or the Matrix, which I have tried to show you for years, but the moment has passed and now I no longer care.
Aw. What's the moment past? What kind of moment were you waiting for to show me the Matrix?
I will explain afterwards.
Okay. Got
Anyway,
it.
but there's your explanation.
Yeah.
Okay. You already asked the do you intend to do similar lists question. Alright. Timmy asks, any good animes for someone who hasn't watched anime?
There's a lot. There's a lot of stuff to anime.
There you go.
I guess it would depend on what genre you're interested in. If you like long-running action, One Piece or My Hero Academia, depending on how long you want to watch. If you're into more slice of life stuff, if you want to cry, watch Clannad. It's a good show. It's like it varies on genre. Anime is a medium. It's not a genre.
Ninjago's a cool anime. No, I'm kidding.
But my favorite anime of all time is One Piece, so make of that what you will.
Okay. Green Tornado asks, LJ, thank you. Have you eaten another Snickle since the last? And also, what Ninjago character is the most likely to eat a Snickle pie besides Dareth?
Oh my god.
Okay.
What a question.
I don't know what you derive as being the last time. If it's the video that I made for this channel, then yes. If it's Brick Fair 2019, then no.
Yeah, Brick Fair 2019 was the time.
Also, the answer's Cole.
Fair enough.
So. Okay, Benjamin asks, are you going to make a top 10 worst things about 09 video?
Sure, I'll say that only because I like to do both sides. I hadn't really considered it because it didn't fit with my preconceived narrative, but now that you mention it, that is kind of an oversight. No, I mean, like, I'm just being honest. I made it to defend 09. All the negative points people already kind of know, but yes, to be fair, I should probably do both sides.
Fair enough. Okay. Maniac for Bricks, Joey asks if you ever plan, or doesn't ask, if he says, if you ever plan on reviewing Robo Riders, let me know, as I have all the boxes and canisters, including the smaller Kabaya promotional sets. Well, first of all, absolutely. I know we've discussed another theme, and I feel like you're... It's just going to be the Retired Reviews, sponsored by Maniac for Bricks, which sounds fine to me. But if you would feel okay with that, I would be immensely grateful for it. So thank you, Joey.
Good guy, Joey.
He's awesome, man. All right, Timmy says, he asks, what do you think the future of original IP LEGO themes will be?
I think it's going to be really, 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 really hard for anything to get a foothold and take off so long as Ninjago's around. That's my honest opinion. So long as Ninjago continues to be as popular as it is and be as good as it is, the chances of Lego really investing a lot of money into anything else is very slim. But that's not to say I want Ninjago to end. I don't. I'm happy with it. But I mean, let's just be realistic about it. Their attempts to diversify have so far failed. They really only have one current story theme up and running. I guess Hidden Side, but that's not getting a full-fledged, TV show. Its story is going to be delivered in other mediums, probably with lesser budget than Ninjago. Not to say it won't still be good, but I don't exactly think we're going to be seeing the Lego Hidden Side movie. It's not that kind of a theme. I don't know. Lego doesn't seem willing to a lot of focus, a lot, for multiple Bionicle Ninjago caliber themes at once. Maybe I'll be proven wrong in the future. There is that mystery theme coming next year that supposedly has like 18 sets, which qualifies as a Big Bang theme, but we'll talk about that when the time comes.
Yeah.
And we know what it actually is.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Retro Zaid asks, who are your favorite voice actors of the multiple Bionicle films?
My favorite voice actors?
Mm-hmm.
Lee Takar as Makuta, without a doubt. Scott McNeil as Tahu, basically perfect. I really, really like Mask of Light Pohatu, whose name escapes me. I thought he was also practically perfect.
I'll go get the name.
Yeah, he was basically perfect. Really, I hate to say it because it makes me sound like a jerk. Really, nobody from the Metro Nui movies.
You mean like Lee Takar as Makuta from both of the Metro Nui films?
Well, he was a Mask of Light, so that's what I
And
primarily associate with him. But true. Didn't really like too many of the Tomometru voice actors. Nadiki and Kreka weren't that memorable, nor was Leekon or Doom. Not to say they weren't appropriate, just they're not my favorites.
It's Trevor Duvall is Pohatu, by the way.
Okay, cool. Trevor Duvall is Pohatu, freaking great. Also Rudaka, whoever voiced her.
All right.
She was good. Oh yeah, and then the best, in my opinion,
Here we
the
go.
best
Here we go.
is no, it's not a meme.
Oh.
I genuinely like Jim Cummings as Akar.
Okay.
I think he had the weight that character needed to have any degree of emotional resonance, and he was like one of the only characters who had an emotional resonance in The Legend Reborn.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll say Brian Drummond as Toa Matau easily is my favorite. He is the only other person from the cast of voice actors I would have had be Liwa instead of Dale Wilson. But at the same time, it's hard for me to say that because he was so good as Matau. He is the voice I attribute to Matau.
That's fair.
And,
I don't give him enough credit.
And so after that, the voice I attribute to Liwa afterwards is mine. So, which again, I understand sounds very, very pompous and self-centered, but I just don't see Liwa sounding anything other than that. I don't know why.
Because you've done so much?
No, I don't even think it's because I've always felt this way. I don't even think it's because I think I can do a better job than Dale Wilson. Because Dale Wilson's a prolific voice actor. It's just the voice. It's just how I think it sounds. I don't know why.
I mean, I get it. You have an idea in your head.
Yeah, that's just a concept.
And nothing really meshes with that idea in official media, so I get that.
Anyway, but yeah, so Brian Drummond, easily. And then all the ones Meso mentioned as well.
Mm-hmm.
Green Tornado says, LJ, you should have dressed up with your mask for Halloween. For a Halloween? First of all, and Halloween is coming up still, so I can still do it. And second of all, you assume I haven't. Actually, several people have dressed up as me for Halloween on occasion. And so if anyone does that again, let me know, because I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Alright. So, Green Tornado also asks, also LJ and Meso, what would your accessory be for your minifigures if there was one for you personally? That's actually something I've given some thought, but I need to talk with everyone about it first.
Yeah, I have no real clue. Nothing immediately comes to mind. I'm sure I could have one. You might have an idea, but
Yeah,
nothing.
I mean, for me, it'd be my mask, obviously. Yeah, that would be mine. Or mangosteen. For Meso, I'd probably make it a skull, to be frank.
De facto.
Yeah, that'd be my first thing. Or something else. There's a video online, actually, that Just Too Good released. Lego YouTubers, and myself, Meso, and Var make an appearance, and we have accessories in that. It's a really cool video. I recommend it.
It's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let me see here. All right, we're gonna do one more question. This is gonna be the last one. It's from Prentice. And Prentice says, so Mesa wants to discuss G2 on the show, yet most of the talking points have been talked to death. Maybe you two could discuss the Bionicle reiterated finale when it's done. We will make no promises, but we'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely talk about it. I don't think we would do an entire Eljay Johnsen show about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you are doing good work with that.
Yeah. Also, one more question. It was my bad, I missed one. The Dark Master asks, which are creepier, the Ice Samurai or the undead Saberteeth from Chima? It's the Ice Samurai.
Yeah. Nothing from Chima will ever be like, which is the best, or which is, insert positive attribute here.
Yeah. Except for the sets.
Except for the sets. Best animal themed sets.
Yeah. So. Okay, that's basically it. That is everything.
Pretty neat. So, I dig it.
All right. In that case, we're going to go and wrap things up. This is definitely one of the shorter ones that we've done.
I think last one was shorter. Last one was like 2 hours.
Well,
this has been 2.5.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
But yeah, it definitely didn't reach the 3-hour threshold. But again, it could have. I could talk about each of those themes at length for like an hour, just particularly HF, if just given free reign, but we don't really need to. It's not the purpose of this show. But maybe in the future. Talk about HF because that thing is a microcosm of bad decision making.
Yeah. So, very quickly, I want to address this. Dark Master says, because he was posting some questions about episodes in Ninjago I haven't seen yet. And I deleted them and I said, hey, hold off. And he says, there were those spoiler questions you said didn't count for some reason, even though it's Cartoon Network's fault for not being competent. The episodes are progressing at a normal rate in Denmark. Yeah, that's fine, but I haven't seen them. I haven't seen the episodes, so they're spoilers. That's not Cartoon Network's fault. So if somebody comes in here and posts spoilers to episodes I haven't seen, that's not Cartoon Network sending them in here. So, yeah. Mark my words. If the theory is true that Zane is the Ice Emperor, and anyone in this chat comes in here and spoils that, you're gone. I don't care who you are. I am banning you from the chat. I have a very low tolerance for stuff like this when I have an intention of not having it spoiled for me. So, just understand that. Okay? Understand. And that's the big thing. So if it's anything else and it's minor stuff, I don't mind. But if it's that and that turns out to be an accurate theory and I get that spoiled, gone. So
fair enough. I respect that. Laying down the law.
Anyway.
Here's a great comment from Green Tornado. It says Ninjago is a show to be watched. No freaking duh. No, I mean, yeah, I'm just messing. I understand what he's saying. He's saying it's a show to be experienced.
Yeah,
and
I know.
You're right. I'm poking fun. Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
Harry Potter is a book to be read.
The animation is so real. The rain looks like rain.
Eljay Johnsen Show is an Eljay Johnsen show to be listened to. I'm just messing around, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for posting.
And Dark Nova's right. Zane is the Fire Emperor, so All right, I'm banning you.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I gotta stick to my word. No.
Fair enough. Here's another great comment he made. The Ice Emperor is Laval.
Okay, we're done. We're done.
You're great. Thank you, man.
Ah.
Thank you for being a part of the discussion.
Yeah, thank you also very much for commenting. And Meso, that'll do it. Thanks for being here again, man. It's always a good time.
Indeed, it is. So good, in fact, that there's no reason for the 3-episode-a-year limit.
No, definitely is the reason. How many more weeks are left in September? Or so not
Dude, I don't
September,
know.
obviously, or the year.
I don't know. Like, a lot. Like, at least 12.
Okay, at least 12. All right. Because I was gonna say, I will make an exception. I will give you one extra episode next year. Okay.
Okay. My next year.
Because next year is the 100. Your first episode of the show was episode 20, and so next year will be the 100th and 120th episode. So you can show up on that one as a freebie.
Nice. All right. Sure.
Cool.
Also, Green Tornado says worded wrong. Sorry, Mesa. Don't be sorry. You actually worded it very correctly. I was just having a laugh because it sounded funny. You're fine.
Okay. In that case, we're gonna go and wrap things up. Meso, is there anywhere on social media you'd like people to follow you at?
I really value my MySpace account.
Oh,
It's very important for my social media metrics
Very
for my
classic.
MySpace to get viewed, and also my Vessel account, vessel.com/Blaziken1110.
Stop it!
It's a very cool place to find Bonkle music videos, and you can sign up for $3 a month to be an early access subscriber and get all those music videos early delivered straight to you. Help me grow the Blaziken Nation, as I like to call it.
Remember what I just said about you getting an extra episode? Yeah, that is gone. Redacted. Never freaking mind. It's amazing how quickly that went poof.
Sorry, because it went up and then down like a seesaw. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/Mesonak. Hello.
Thank you all so very much for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of the Eljay Johnsen Show. Oh, yeah.
It was great.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take off. So, once again, thank you all so very much for listening. Hopefully you had a good time with this. Hopefully, either during the live one or the recorded one, which will hopefully be up independently soon. All right, let's struggle through this. Let's figure out the ending here.
Bye, guys. Thank you for listening to the Eljay Johnsen Show.
Stop it.
You can catch us every week.
Nope, stop it. Stop it. You're on thin freaking ice, and summer
catch us
is
every week
approaching.
at 7 p.m. every Friday on Vessel.
Nope. Gosh. Stop ruining my show.
Not MySpace live streaming exclusive access.
This has been another episode of the Eljay Johnsen Show. The show airs every single Sunday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, unless specified otherwise, over on Twitter at the Eljay Johnsen Show, where you can find updates and guest announcements every single Wednesday. And if you have any questions over the week, make sure you head on over to my email at eljayjohnson or eljayjohnson@gmail.com, where you can send in any question or inquiry that you would like. Remember, that's JOHNSEN. I am done. Gosh dang it.
Eljay Johnsen done.
Let's go play some COD. Oh, can we
Let's go!
do private matches?
No.
Dang it! I wanted to kill you. Ugh.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, COD is good. Modern Warfare is good.
If you
COD's
like
back.
first-person shooters, you would like this one, presumably.
Can we do an Eljay Johnsen show on Call of Duty?
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Think about it.
Have a
Think
great
about it.
Have a great day.